What's up, all you lovely people? Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Really does mean a lot to me. Today, we're going on to the fourth night of 31 Days of Halloween Horror, so stick around.
You're afraid of dying.
How do you know? You've never tried it before.
All right, everyone. Once again, the poster for the movie is in the thumbnail. Maybe you guessed it by now, maybe you didn't. There's a little bit of a clue already happened in one of the first three nights. But before I reveal it to you, if you could, give the video a like, consider subscribing. Obviously, it helps me out with that whole YouTube algorithm thing. Now, with that out of the way, Happy Death Day to You. That's right, the sequel to 2017's Happy Death Day. I was a little surprised by this one. I will say I didn't like it as much as the first one. Story gets a little weird and, in my opinion, muddled, but it's still a very solid movie. Very fun, a new take on what was already a new take. Goes a little bit of a sci-fi route. It gets a little harder to call it horror, but it definitely has some still scary elements in it and stuff. So the story, let's just jump onto that. It follows up, it starts the exact next day from the repeating day in the first Happy Death Day. So this starts on Tuesday the 19th. Now, the way Happy Death Day ended was we saw Ryan, who is Carter's roommate, walk in as Carter and Tree were smooching, and he tells him to get out. Well, that's how this movie starts. We see where Ryan was. And now it starts off with Ryan being stuck in a time loop, and he's the one getting murdered now. So we are like, oh, okay, we're getting another one, but it's going to be like his events of the day, right? And I was really, really on board for that. Like, okay, well, let's see. Maybe it transferred somehow. Well, we only get that for like 10 minutes. As you know, if you've seen the movie, if you haven't, I'm just going to dive into spoilers. This one's a little bit older. It came out 2019, so it's at least 4 years old. I think we're past the spoiler warning for this one, but also, just slight mention, written and directed by Christopher Landon. Just like, well, the first one was directed by him. I don't think he wrote the first one. But anyways, this one's written and directed by Christopher Landon. What we find out is it's actually another version of Ryan trying to kill Ryan to close some sort of loop. We find out that Ryan, Samar, and Andrea, who are two new characters, are working on this science project. It's his thesis project, and it is supposed to do something along the lines of slowing time. And because they tested it without it being ready, that's what caused the time loop. And when they started it, that's what caused Tree to go into a time loop. I guess when she finished it, and this is where the story gets a little muddled somehow. When she finished, like when she successfully closed her time loop, I we don't really get an explanation as to how Ryan gets stuck in a time loop or how his other self comes back, and maybe I missed it. That's entirely possible. But then they started again. They start the thesis project. I want to say it's called Mindy. It could be wrong. Or Sissy, maybe. I think it's Sissy. Anyways, once they start it, that gets rid of Ryan's other self, but that also starts Tree in another time loop. But now, so she's basically got to do the entire thing over again. But instead of trying to solve her murder and prevent getting killed, her goal is to just help them fix Sissy, to start Sissy again, I guess to close the thing for good. But I don't really see how that's going to happen or how that's supposed to work. Like, I don't think there's a good explanation, and there doesn't have to be. Let's just be honest. It doesn't need to go into that much detail about it. I just think it doesn't. I don't think it laid it out clear enough as to why starting it caused her to go into a time loop, but then her solving her time loop caused someone else to go into a time loop, but then starting it closed his time loop and restarted hers. So I don't think it makes any sense really. I could be missing something, but that's my negative with the movie. Is the story gets a little muddled in there in the sci-fi portion of it. Now, one thing this has a lot of that I think supersedes the first movie is some really big character growth and emotional moments with Tree, because a big aspect of part one was it was her birthday, and her birthday was kind of a solemn occasion because her mother had the same birthday and her mother passed away. Well, in this one, in this new universe she's in, because that's the thing, this whole sissy thing actually, I guess, not only stops time, but puts her in a different universe. So the multiverse theory comes into play. Her mother is still alive. So she's trying to debate whether or not she wants to go back to her universe. Because if she goes back there, her mother's no longer alive. Also, in this universe, Carter is actually um, dating, I forget the character's name. Hold on a second. Um, what is the character's name? Stephanie, maybe? Or no, Danielle. Danielle's the character's name. Carter's actually dating Danielle, who is the head of the sorority that Tree was a part of. But and in this one, Lori, Tree's roommate, who was trying to kill her in the first one, no longer wants to kill her, but she's also with the doctor. I want to say Tim is his name. I could be wrong, but no, Gregory Butler. That's his name. She's still in a relationship with him. He's still also married. Anyways, it gets a little convoluted, I think. So essentially, she has to help them. By them, I mean Ryan, Samar, and Andrea fix Sissy so they can turn it on and send her back to her universe. The problem is they got to test a bunch of equations, and all the stuff they learn every day gets reset when she dies. So she essentially has to learn everything and remember it, and then tell them the next day she comes back. So it's a little bit more of a spin to it, sets up the stakes and the reason she has to keep doing it over and over. But then she realizes that if she just ignores everything and goes back or doesn't try to solve the whole murder thing, somebody else dies. So there's a little bit of a conscience thing going on, because does she have the moral responsibility to try to save these people? Because if she just closes the time loop, if she just turns it on and closes everything, then all the people who died actually die. So it sets up that. I'm not gonna go over how the movie ends because that's just a little too much. It's definitely a fun watch. Like I said, I don't think I like it as much as the first one, but it's still a great watch. It's very suitable fourth day. Um, a lot of you probably thought it was going to be the third day since I watched Happy Death Day, the first one, on the second day, but I didn't. I wanted to space it out. I want to try something new first and then get back into this one. So that's what I did. I still really enjoy the movie. I can see it probably staying on my 31 days of Halloween horror because it's just a fun movie. Like all the problems I mentioned with the story, and like I said, I could be completely missing something there. But all the problems I mentioned with the story, I can forgive those. I can turn my brain off and just enjoy that movie because I think that's what's meant to happen with this movie. And it's got so many other redeeming qualities that I can look past it. So that's what I did. That's what I did for my night four is Happy Death Day to You. And like I said, I'm going to give these movies a ranking out of 5. And for this one, I'm going to go, I'm going to say 3 out of 5 pumpkins. I think the first one is probably 4.5 out of 5 maybe, because I really, really enjoyed it. But for Happy Death Day to You, I'm going to say 3 out of 5 pumpkins. And that's what I did for my night number 4, y'all. Let me know if you've seen the movie. What did you think of it? If you haven't seen it, are you going to watch it? And if you're following along, doing your own 31 Nights of Halloween horror, what did you pick for night 4? And with that, I love you all. Have a safe weekend.